The inner demon trope is prevalent amongst several anime and manga, with notable examples being Kurama within Naruto and Sukuna in Jujutsu Kaisen. Bleach, on the other hand, introduced us to a counter to the inner demon, when Ichigo's inner hollow is contrasted against the very cool, calm and collected old man Zangetsu, who, instead of maniacally antagonizing our protagonist, he acts like a father figure who guides Ichigo every time that he encounters him. One of Bleach's biggest secrets involves the character of old man Zangetsu. And in the most recent episode of the 1000-Year Blood War arc, which has just wrapped up the first cut of the anime, we finally learn about old man Zangetsu's secret, which is just one piece in the puzzle that allows Ichigo to reforge his Zanpakuto with the full extent of his power. For reasons that I will go into, old man Zangetsu was suppressing Ichigo's powers, and he was an imposter who had tried to pass off as his Zanpakuto spirit. In this video, I want to dive deep into the mystery of old man Zangetsu, understanding the reasoning behind his actions, as well as uncovering the secret that he was keeping, which explains why he resembles the big bad of the 1000-Year Blood War arc, Yhwach. Before the video begins, only 12% of the people who watch my content are subscribed to the channel. If you enjoy these videos, then subscribe and stick around for more content just like this. Now let's get back to the topic of the video. When Ichigo had first entered into his inner world in chapter 63, he had seen old man Zangetsu for the very first time. After asking his name, Ichigo is actually unable to hear it. He does in fact say his name, but Kubo purposefully blacks out the panel, and it was only recently via Kubo's comments from his official fan club that he had purposefully inked this out thanks to the intervention of Ichibe. From the very beginning, there were hints and subtle foreshadowings that there was more to old man Zangetsu than meets the eye. Ever since then, he has been the mysterious inner voice who has been there for Ichigo since the start of the story. In chapter 66, he had told Ichigo to abandon his fear and to look forward. He needs to advance without stopping. If he retreats, he will age, and if he hesitates, he will die. These words are the support and encouragement that Ichigo has instilled within him, which reaffirms his resolve in order to rescue Rukia. In chapter 112, Zangetsu reveals to Ichigo that he hates it when it rains. When Ichigo is upset, it rains within his inner world, and he wonders if he knows the terror of being rained upon within this lonely inner world. And it's for this reason that old man Zangetsu resolves to lend Ichigo power as long as he places his trust in him. He will make sure that no rain falls within his inner world because Ichigo is no longer alone. He is not fighting alone. We understand the meaning and impact of these words even more so after learning about old man Zangetsu's secret and his true motives during the 1000-Year Blood War arc. It is known that every Quincy has a piece of Yhwach's soul or his influence within them. This is important in order to understand why old man Zangetsu resembles Yhwach, since he is in fact an inner manifestation of Ichigo's Quincy powers. We learned that he had inherited these Quincy powers from his mother Masaki, who was indeed born as a pure-blooded Quincy. She was later tainted by the experimental Hollow White, which was created by Aizen, and we do in fact learn about all of this during the Everything But the Rain flashback, which reveals to us how Aizen was responsible for Isshin and Masaki first meeting. Now this explains why Ichigo was born special and as a one-of-a-kind hybrid being, and in a way Ichigo is an unintentional product of Aizen's trial and error hollowification experiments. The inner hollow that manifests within Ichigo's soul stems from the spirit of the Hollow White that had attacked Masaki. Now when Ichigo was born, the hollow had combined with Isshin's Shinigami powers, and so it formed the basis of Ichigo's inherited Shinigami powers. Now this explains why Ichigo is a one-of-a-kind Shinigami who actually has perfectly crossed the boundary between Shinigami and Hollow powers. He has both aspects of these powers working simultaneously without the use of a Hollow mask like how the Vizards use their Hollow powers. We see this via his mastered Fullbring powers and his Shinigami powers that are now combined by the end of the Fullbring arc. Old man Zangetsu was the dominant spirit within Ichigo's soul for the majority of the series. He was in fact responsible for suppressing Ichigo's combined Shinigami and Hollow powers, as well as his Quincy powers that he didn't even know he had. He had posed as a Zanpakuto spirit and was in fact limiting Ichigo's growth. We learn in chapter 541 that Zangetsu was against Ichigo becoming a Shinigami, and he had done everything that he could in order to slow down his growth and to prevent his power from reaching its full potential. He went to such lengths because he had wanted to protect Ichigo from the dangers associated associated with being a Shinigami. It would mean that he would partake in life-threatening battles. He would be targeted by powerful individuals who will hunt him down and his loved ones. And lastly, he will have to face all of the difficult challenges that come with being a Shinigami. He was in fact acting as an overprotective parent who was stunting the growth of their own child because of their own fears of the unknown and the lack of trust and faith that they have in their child. Initially, Man Zangetsu instinctively protected Ichigo, but as he had come to form a meaningful bond with him, over time he had seen Ichigo persevere and overcome several obstacles, and this had wavered the resolve of Man Zangetsu. Eventually, he had found himself supporting and encouraging Ichigo instead of holding him back. Now we see this over the course of the series, and how Zangetsu teaches Ichigo, and how he enlists the help of Hollow Ichigo in order to train him whenever he had wanted to progress with his Zanpakuto training. We have hints that Zangetsu has always wanted to protect Ichigo back when he was trying to learn the final Getsuga Tensho. Tensei Zangetsu was reluctant to teach Ichigo the final Getsuga Tensho because the two of them had wanted to protect different things. We eventually learned that Tensei Zangetsu had always just wanted to protect Ichigo. He was aware of the pain that Ichigo would have to endure after losing his Shinigami powers, which is a consequence of utilizing the final Getsuga Tensho. You can appreciate why he had started to cry after Ichigo had learned the technique, because nobody knows the pain that Ichigo is going to feel better than the spirits that reside within him. Man Zangetsu wanting to protect Ichigo is further emphasized by the poem from volume 61, which says, "I believe that the world is full of danger, and the desire of wanting to protect you from that danger is inside of me with that same danger. It is nothing but an impulse." Now this can be interpreted as Zangetsu wanting to protect Ichigo from Yhwach, who is the danger that he originates from, or even wanting to protect him from the hollow that resides within him. By pursuing the path of a Shinigami, Man Zangetsu was aware that Ichigo would have to face his inner hollow as well as dealing with Yhwach, who was slowly regaining his power, making his inevitable return. There were several instances of foreshadowing, and some that I've spoken about already, but the most important is from chapter 127. While Ichigo is training in order to activate his Bankai, Man Zangetsu has several swords appear from the ground, and he states that only one of them is real, and he can only be defeated by that sword. Now the sword that he was referencing was in fact Ichigo's false Shikai Zanpakuto, the very blade that Ichigo had used to defeat the real Yhwach in chapter 684. We see that the white outer shell of his Zanpakuto cracks and it reveals the shape of his original Shikai blade, which Ichigo was actually looking for during his Bankai training way back during the Soul Society arc. We can now appreciate what Man Zangetsu had meant in chapter 127. He was acting as a representation of Yhwach, hinting at how he can only be defeated by that sword, which was used 500 chapters later in order to defeat the real Yhwach. There are so many instances of foreshadowing within Bleach, and they are made more and more apparent each time that you go back and reread the series. I have a separate video on my channel where I speak about Ichigo's Quincy powers, and in that video I talk about every instance where Ichigo was foreshadowed to be a Quincy via Man Zangetsu intervening and using some of his suppressed Quincy powers in order to help him, like when he had appeared during Ichigo's battle against Kenpachi and had used Bleach to suppress his bleeding, and he had used the Quincy shadows in order to stop time so that he could take Ichigo into his inner world to battle the hollow that resides within him. I know that there was a lot of confusion when Man Zangetsu's true identity was first revealed, but once you understand each piece of the puzzle and link it together with all of the instances of foreshadowing, it truly leaves you feeling awestruck. His appearance combined with his mysterious demeanor all hinted at the fact that there was much more to Man Zangetsu's character. He was closely linked to our protagonist, but he was born from the very man who was responsible for the death of his mother. In the end, his connection to Ichigo had overwritten his instinctual desire to hold him back. He had eventually let go of the last piece of Ichigo's power that he was suppressing, and I had felt like this final piece of power that he was holding back was his final link to Ichigo. After letting go of this, he accepts that Ichigo no longer needs him. In chapter 541, he states that he is happy to let go of that last bit of power that he was holding, and just like a loving parent or guardian, he expresses how proud he is of Ichigo and how strong that he has become. He sheds a single tear and fades away, trusting that Ichigo will be able to handle whatever difficulty that may come his way. The chapters where we learn the truth about Zangetsu are called The Blade and Me, and the following chapter where Ichigo finally understands the secret of Man Zangetsu is titled The Blade is Me. He realizes that there were no lies told to him by his inner hollow or Zangetsu. He understands how the Quincy shadow was used to help him, how Bleach was used to protect him, and how his Quincy powers were used in order to make Ichigo stronger during several instances is within the series. When it comes down to it, Ichigo doesn't care about the real identity of all Man Zangetsu or even his inner hollow, because to him he identifies both of them as his power. They are Zangetsu. He awakens with two Zanbakudo, with the longer one representing his hollow and Shinigami powers, while the shorter blade represents his Quincy powers. With his true powers finally activated, he says that he will no longer ask for all Man Zangetsu's help. He will no longer push away his inner hollow, and lastly, he will not ask either of them to fight with him. Ichigo accepts that he will have to fight on his own from now on, as he thanks the two of them, understanding that they have and always will be a part of him. I absolutely love the character of All Man Zangetsu, and how that there is so much meaning that you can derive from the mystery of his character. He was somebody who had initially desired to hold back Ichigo, but he is now cheering him on and admiring how far he has come. Understanding All Man Zangetsu and his secret is pivotal in order to appreciate every aspect of Ichigo's inherited powers. I hope that this video has helped you to understand just how deep some of Kubo's writing can get, and honestly I feel like I'm only scratching the surface and there are so many more instances of foreshadowing that we have yet to uncover. And this is why in the future I would love to make a video trying to go over every instance of foreshadowing within the Bleach series. It may be a super long video, but it's definitely one that I want to do. So let me know all of your thoughts about this fascinating topic. Was there anything about All Man Zangetsu that I have forgotten to mention within this video? And on a side tangent, do you think that every Quincy has their own inner manifestation of Yhwach residing within them? I can't wait to read all of your thoughts as you continue the discussion in the comments. And as always, thank you for making it to the end of this video, and I can't wait to see you in my next Bleach video. If you enjoy my content, then you can support my channel through Patreon for as little as $1 a month, or even through YouTube by becoming a channel member. You will gain access to exclusive channel perks and a Discord server which I frequently use. So become a member of my Zero Division and be the first to know about my upcoming videos. And once again, thank you for sticking around till the end of the video, and whatever you contribute will mean a lot to me.